Welcome to Shielded Voices, the podcast where we break the stigma, build resilience, and support the men and women who serve our communities. I'm Mitch, a dedicated law enforcement professional with over 8 years of full-time experience and a combined 15 years of experience in law enforcement. My journey began as a police cadet, a reserve police officer, and now I am a full-time deputy. I am a defensive tactics instructor, an emergency vehicle operations instructor, and a former drug recognition expert. Now, I'm here to share the conversations that matter the most.
And I'm Brian, a deputy with over 15 years of service. I bring my experience as a defensive tactics instructor, emergency vehicle operations instructor, field training officer, a member of the riot team, as well as the narcotics team as a liaison. I'm also a veteran of the United States Army, and I am passionate about faith, family, and supporting our brothers and sisters in law enforcement.
Together, we're here to share stories, insights, and real talk about the challenges and triumphs of life in law enforcement. Whether it's breaking down the barriers around mental health, reflecting on our own shared experiences, or providing tools for growth and recovery, we're here to have the conversations that matter.
Our goal is simple: to support first responders, foster open communication, and remind everyone in this community that they are never alone. This is a space for growth, connection, and building stronger voices together.
Thank you for joining us. Let's dive into today's episode where we continue to break the silence.
Well, welcome back for part two. I think where we left off, we're kind of in that transition point of what's brought you to the next shift, which is, like I said before, like it's kind of the most important part. And prior to this off recording, we were talking about exercising in the form of this organization called Beachbody, and I'm just curious. I heard you talk about it on one of your other podcasts. I want to hear your experience with it because I was a Beachbody coach back in the day.
Yep.
And when I say coach, as soon as my best friend and I realized this is a pyramid thing, we're like, deuces, yeah. I'm out. The workouts are amazing. Yeah. And I trained people on doing the workout, like friends and stuff like that. So what was your experience with that? How did that come about?
Yeah. So I left the department in November of 16, and I want to say I tried Beachbody for the first time when you had to buy the DVDs for a program. Yeah. And I was preyed upon by a coach who went through like her friends list, and my cousin happened to be like a friend of theirs or something like that. So I was one of those friends, and like and I was dumb, and I was like, oh, sure, I'll belong to a community. I'll be a coach. Sure, getting paid to do this would be fun. Like whatever. Totally the wrong coach for me. Like I didn't give two shits about people who were married or had kids or whatever, because I didn't, like whatever. Right. I hated the workout program. I ended up getting like 22 hard, I think is what it was. And I was like, not for me.
Oh, gotcha.
The one, I can't even think of his name, but anyways, I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't for me. I quit. I tried the next year, which I want to say was 2017. So I tried it in 16, wasn't for me. Tried it 17, different coach, a little bit better, but also like, I still had to buy a program, and I think I got PIO or some shit like that. Definitely not for me. But again,
I was early days P90X.
Okay, you were one of the early coaches.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, little Miss Jessica, I needed a discount, so I was like, yeah, I'll be a coach again. Still nothing. My dad went in the hospital for the same issues that like killed my grandpa, so I let that get in the way, and life got in the way, and I was like, I can't do it. And I had been using my wrist as my excuse. Now again, I have a whole body that functions, but my wrist. I couldn't do some of the moves, and I wasn't in a mindset yet of like adapting and overcoming. Like, okay, use the rest of your body, or do what you can, or don't you hold weights, or do whatever. So that was 16 and 17. And this whole time I had been watching this coach on Instagram and watching her just grow and build. And she was so authentic, and seemed authentic. Once you get behind the doors with any of these big influencers, you realize they're not what they anyways. Yeah. She was phenomenal, and she was like really changing my mindset and making me comfortable leaning into me for the first time and finding out who I was. And she was changing all these people's lives, supposedly. Like you're looking at it and seeing all these results they're posting. I'm like, oh my God. But I sat there for 2 years trying to make it work with other people. And finally I was like, I am so freaking sick and tired of just sitting around. I'm only getting bigger. My dad is about to like go through these same issues my grandpa did. I'm only half their age. Like, is that what's coming for me? I got to do something. Nobody's coming to save me. Like, if other people can't see my worth, like, fuck, neither can I. So like, I've got to change this. And people will always ask like, what is that thing? I'm like, you guys, I don't know what it is other than I finally faced the freaking reality that I was the one responsible for this and did the thing that I needed to do. So at that point, when I reached out to her, it was like the first year or so when they did the like live program. So 80-Day Obsession had come out, and that was the program I had watched this coach and multiple people do. And I was like, oh, those are like workouts that I really enjoy, like what they're doing. Like that looks like it would make, and the results I was seeing, I was like, holy shit, look what they're doing. And I was like, you know what, if they can do this, like, why can't I? It's going to look a little different. But she's got these results and those results. I couldn't afford it, but it was all on the Beachbody On Demand now. You didn't have to buy DVDs. Everything was all online. So that was phenomenal. I was like, first of all, big change, because maybe I hate this workout from 80-Day Obsession. I can go over here and do 21 Day Fix, or, you know, you can mix and match. But
you morph your own program.
Little Miss Perfectionist me must be done perfectly, must be done to the calendar, like must be all these stupid things. Like, as you can see, like this was the recent one I just completed.
Wow. It's all X'd out. I love it.
I like to have them crossed off. I think it's a mental thing. Like when we can cross off that day, you know, cool.
Yeah.
But it was in that journey of doing that program and being injured and having to adapt. I would look at some of the moves and be like, first of all, what the fuck are you telling people to do? And second of all, like, I will do half of that move because I can't do the other half with my wrist. And I would not look at workouts ahead of me because I didn't want to be scared. Like, oh shit, this one was rough. What's the next one going to be? But I was put in her accountability group of probably like 900 some people. And only about 20, 25, 30 of us like actually showed up every day and did the sweaty selfie post and like the accountability piece. But I found some really incredible women who were pushing through things like they just had a baby. They have like 5 kids at home. They have a boot on their foot, but they're doing what they can. And I was like, if these women who are moms and have every excuse in the world to not show up, and I have a bad fucking wrist, like what is wrong with me? So it was the accountability piece and having a group where some people were basically graduating the program. Some people were just a little bit ahead of me. Some people started the day I did. And then the newcomers were coming in behind us. And we were getting to be that lending hand backwards of like, here's what I didn't do, or here's what I did do, or here's what made this easier. This meal really works for this meal plan that they're asking you to follow. Here. Like, these are the meals I use. And so I did that, and I was seeing their results. And then I was like, I didn't do measurements or photos until the end of each phase. And there were 3 phases. And each phase I was like, holy shit, this is working, I guess. Like, what the hell? And I get to that 90, well, it's called 80-Day Obsession, but it's a 90-day program. I think I took about 110 days, but I went into it with the mindset, I'm not going to be perfect. There's no such thing. I'm going to probably have like 10 days where I don't eat perfectly. We had birthdays and celebrations.
Sure.
And maybe 10 days where I don't do a workout. If I get sick, if this happens, whatever. I went in knowing I wasn't going to do it in 80 days or 90. So I got to that end, and I went to take my after photos, and I was like, I just started bawling. I was like, I don't even recognize that person in the mirror. Like, I physically look different, but 2, holy awesome. Freaking shit. I just like transformed my mind and my body. I am that rookie cop again, confidence wise. Like, you're not going to fuck with me. Like, it is. And I saw a new way to serve people by doing that. And so suckered into coaching, yes or no. Like, I wasn't into the sales. I didn't really care. Like, oh, I need to sell a challenge pack. I don't give a fuck. If I can help somebody get into these programs that just changed my life, here's a 3-month subscription with 2 months free or 2 weeks free. Like, get in here however you can, get on these workouts. I can help you through the rest of that. So I got to see a little bit of that entrepreneurship, if you will. I could still serve a community, but a lot safer. And I could really help people find their own inner, like, whatever that is, and pull that out of them, like I just had done for me. And I was like, holy shit, okay. And that was in 2018. So 2 years out of being gone from law enforcement. The next year I ended up going to the big summit that they have, because I remember in 18 seeing their picture from Indianapolis, and 30,000 coaches embarked on Indianapolis, and they're outside doing this workout in the streets. And I'm like, holy shit. And
it's a movement.
It's a movement. And to me, you're seeing that, and you're, again, back to 10 years old. My grandpa was part of something bigger than himself. Being a cop myself, part of something bigger than myself. I lost that. I didn't get to be part of a community anymore, something bigger than me. And now here it is again. I've got this thing that's bigger than me. I'm a part of it. I'm, getting to be involved in this. I'm like, holy shit. So in 19, I go, and I will tell you, we were sitting there watching my coach get recognized as the top coach. And I was like you, like, I'm already seeing like the behind the scenes. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But anyways, she gets recognized for changing like 900 lives or something like that, because she signed that many people up. Well, people like me are jumping on board, right? Like, give me
Sure. Yep.
And for her, she required you to keep monthly Shakeology to be in her groups. So like, she did it right. She can influence you to do whatever, and she's getting all that money. But it was in that moment when she got recognized for changing my life that I looked up at the screen. I go, no, the fuck she didn't. She gave me a platform to change my life, but I did the work. And it was the first time I took ownership for doing the work. Somebody gave me a group to be a part of. Somebody gave me a platform. Somebody showed me the way, but they sure the fuck didn't even talk to me, not once, after I joined their team. Not one. She didn't even know my name.
They got your money. Yeah.
She didn't even know my name. And she's getting recognized for changing my life. And I was like, I'll be fucking damned. I know.
Right.
Now, mind you, I still technically have a Beachbody affiliate code because they just left like the coach model or whatever. And now it's just affiliate. Because I truly believe in their programs. I'm still doing 80-day obsession again.
Yeah.
Slowly, because my back is now fucked up. I'm almost 40. But I love the idea. It showed a spark of what life could look like, that you don't have to follow a traditional path, that there are options, even if it's on the side. And so I'm still doing that. I don't push it by any means. If somebody wants something, here's a link. Sure. Like whatever. Why not make some cash?
But were you leading up to this? This is after you're out of that department. Were you just like in this down funk of out of shape, out like
I was a functioning depressive person for the 2 years. Like, I mean, like I would I had jobs, like I would take whatever job paid my bills, but like I was not happy. Nothing gave me a sense of purpose or meaning or whatever until I was watching that. And again, I think part of it was unlearning the things I learned as a cop, unlearning literally societal norms from childhood. Like, no, I'm just going to show up as me and you're going to deal with it or you're not. Like, I don't need you in my circle or my world. Like, move on. And then that fitness piece, obviously we all know how important fitness is to mental health and physical health. But I mean, it was really reinforced then. And then it was the whole, holy shit, the world truly is your oyster. Like you can do whatever you want out here, and you don't have to fit into a box, and you don't have to be pretty and polished and all the things and not have a voice or an opinion on things. And that was probably the best thing I've ever done for myself in my entire life. And that was 7 years ago.
You also get to the fitness thing for me has always been like, I talk about like my passions of like, I have to archery hunt for elk or my family will hate me because if I don't go hunting, I'm going to lose my mind. But fitness has always been like a priority, and it's not a look at me, like because for me, I've created programs on my own, based off of a Beachbody Pro. Like the one I'm doing right now has got some P90X workouts in it still. It just does. Yeah, because they work. There are some workouts. I'm 52. Like I'm not doing. I do all the pull-ups all the time, but the corn cob pull-ups hurts my shoulder. I'm 52 years old. Like I'm 35 pounds of crap on my body for 16 years. So that you go, like what you were saying with your wrist, you modify things. You have to do modified workouts. But to be able to, it's that what I'm hearing from you, Jessica, is like it's still that continued. Like I can help other people with this. Yeah. And
it's always been a guiding factor. Yep.
Yeah, not for money.
Yep.
This is that servitude. This is your mindset. Like I got that just listening to your very first podcast, and now meeting you in person, well, on video, whatever. Like it's just you serve people. That's your
servant-hearted for sure.
Yes, it's like your purpose, and it's amazing. So, okay, so you go through the Beachbody, the beach. It's just funny because I heard it in a podcast. I'm like, God,
so many cops used to do the Beachbody thing.
Yeah,
funny.
Yeah, years ago. Oh, but you, like you said, they're great workouts.
They are.
They are really great workouts. I have morphed them and built my own programs with all my own stuff over the years, and I've always been. I've mentioned before. Every recruit I've ever had come to the precinct. I'm here working out.
Yep.
I will help you, and I've only had one take me up on it.
Well, and people that struggle too, I mean, nutrition is the hardest piece. I mean, for me, I can always go work out. And it's not like I just left the gym alone. I never had a plan. I was just going to the gym still because my husband was now husband. But the nutrition was the hardest piece. And Beachbody literally gives you a nutrition plan to follow with your workout based on the goal of the workout. I'm like, this is genius. Like it's all right.
Yes.
It's handed to you.
It's handed to you.
You have to like tailor like, okay, well, which parts of what food do you want? But dude,
Sure.
you do that one time, you figure out what foods work and your body agrees
You're
with,
good.
move. Yeah, keep going.
Yep. And really, the
Don't make it
nutrition
harder than
piece.
it is.
Yeah, and in the nutrition piece, there's like all the fitness stuff, all the when I got into fitness years ago, there was no such thing as GNC. There was no such thing as protein powder.
Right.
You
Eat
ate
your chicken. Shut up.
fuck, man. You ate 57 cans of tuna a day. We're like, oh god, like. And you can imagine what the body smells like after that. Like, it's not fun in the gym at 5 a.m. But and now it's become so commercialized. Even nutrition. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Brecka. Like, a lot of people, like I strongly recommend listening to this guy. It's simple: whole foods, meat, fish, fruits, vegetables. Done. You don't need milk. You don't need cheese. Not that they're bad. It's just you don't need them.
And what everyone needs to realize, though, is it's so individualistic. Guys, you could be allergic to fish, or you could be allergic to egg, and you're like, some people will be like, eat all the eggs, eat all this, eat the salt. Like, if your body hates it, don't fucking eat it. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean it's bad or good, or stop trying to follow a specific diet, if you will. Yeah. What foods make you feel your best? Eat those.
And the downside is nobody dislikes M&Ms, so I would eat that. If it wasn't bad for me, I would eat M&Ms all day long.
But I mean, people will be like, follow this or follow that. My body does not process salads. I can't eat a freaking salad to save my life. I mean, I do, and then I'm paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like,
greens.
You have to learn what does and doesn't work.
Yeah, there's things, especially greens now. I've talked to so many people with
the
that.
older I get, I'm like, what is this shit?
Yeah. Wait till you turn 50. Anyway, we digress. So you go through this Beachbody stuff. What lead us up to this transitioning and how you realize that there's an issue, for lack of a better term, with first responders and cops specifically trying to transition out, whether they're, like you said, whether they're getting fired, whether they want out, whatever, it's still a transition period of, I'm living it. It's an oh shit. Like, I'm 52.
Yeah.
Like, now what? Yeah. What am I going to do? So what brought you to that?
So it's crazy. So I did the Beachbody thing. That was, again, I started it 2 years out of law enforcement. And so that was 2018. And then in 2020, we all know the world went to a freaking shit show. But I joined another direct sales company for makeup and skincare. And it was a different community that I didn't know I needed. Still women for the most part, but I didn't know I needed them. And they were pulling shit out of me that I didn't even know was in me, as far as like leadership qualities and like, hey, can you lead this training? I was like, you want me to get on a Zoom and talk to people in front of a room of you? No, absolutely not. Am I going to do that? Like, yeah. So the version people see of me today wasn't even existent 5 years ago. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. Like with the Beachbody thing, I got somewhat comfortable. Like, I'll do a video real quick on my stories or like whatever. And I shared that entire journey starting Beachbody in 18 February today. Actually, yesterday was 7 years ago. Every single day of it is on my Instagram, on my Jess Flores page, like, because that was my accountability to myself of showing up for that journey. And it was part of being a Beachbody coach. So, for the past 7 years, you can scroll back and see the whole shit show, every pivot, every twist, every turn, every version of myself. And you'll see the pivots. Like, you'll see, oh, she's actually showing up as herself now. Like, she's not hiding behind a filter. She's not using other people's quotes. Yeah, it's like, go see it. Like, I don't try to hide it.
No, the transparency in that and just putting yourself out there, like, look, this is me.
Yeah.
And it's doable. Like, so God bless you, man. Yeah. Like, that's, and when you talk about like Zoom meeting in front of people, are you kidding? Yeah. I've always been prior to this job, I would present to millionaires, CEOs. Like, I don't give a shit. It doesn't bug me a bit. I will talk in front of a room of 1,000 people. The fact of the matter is, any cop, it's like, I was just telling Mitch this, 2 or 3 days ago, I go, so you'll walk up to any fucking tweaker on the street and just talk to him.
Right. It's crazy.
But you won't talk to, pick a person. Like, cops, you can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Which
and
is
one
why
thing I've learned through this journey is people are people. It doesn't matter who they are. Like, it's so funny because I would show up on social media, go, cool. When I joined that makeup and skincare company and people were pulling parts out of me that I was like, I'm not that leader. But I showed up and I did the trainings, and then I'm a very idealistic person. That's where my creativity is. And it was so shoved in a box while I was in law enforcement, because I always had the ideas of how we could improve this or that or whatever. I was like, this is fucked up. And like, we could just do this. And like, but it's always been done this way. It was always told to me or whatever. So like, okay, it is what it is.
Yep.
Well, they were either taking those ideas, or we had that true open door policy with our CEO of this almost $1 billion company. And I was like, hey, Michelle. And she responded, and I was blown the fuck away. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You know my name? Holy crap.
Right.
And when I reached out to her, I was actually asking her to be on a Zoom with me for a group I had created to help other beauty guides say, fuck the product. Figure out who you are as a person. What do you want to do? What do you want this opportunity to be for you? Who do you want to serve and why? And once you figure those things out, then you worry about what products will solve whatever problems they have. And we can build from there. And I was like, Michelle, would you come talk? And she literally came to a Zoom that me, as a brand new, 4-month beauty guide in this company, is like, hey, will you do this? And I was like, it was that moment where I said, there is no chain of command in life. I'm going for the big dog every time. I don't need to mess with these little middlemen or these people at the bottom rungs. Like, they're not going to get me where I need to go. And just develop that mindset. And I was like, such a freaking lesson that everybody needs. So I do that. I'm still with them. Just kind of, I don't really promote it, but I take these jobs again, like needless, purposeless, whatever. I'm doing shit on the side, right? That matters to me. So that's at least somewhat balancing things out here.
Yeah.
So I take another job here locally that's at a security company doing quote unquote sales, not a salesman, but okay. Kind of morphed into like a customer relations. How do we keep people here with all these ADTs popping up everywhere type of situation, right? You're a small local company. Let's figure that out. Well, one of the customers that called, sweetest freaking 75-year-old woman I've ever met in my life. She just spunk a freaking fire, and I just adored her. So I'm in training, if you will. The other guy, very transactional. I'm here for this, like da-da-da-da. So he's going out looking at the property, doing all the things. I'm having a conversation with this woman. She literally, in this first conversation, sweetest thing I've ever seen, but she's also like talking about this cool house her and her husband had built. Tells me he committed suicide in the house like a couple years. And I was like, oh my God, girl. And so like, clearly she needed to get that out. Clearly I'm somebody that can take somebody telling me something like that and like talk about this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bonded kind of over that. But then I start telling her, parts of my story, and we formed this friendship. This 75-year-old woman and me, I'm like, this craziest fucking thing.
I love it.
But like, we would start going to lunch. Like, I'd call her and be like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? And we'd go to lunch. And one day we were at lunch, and she knew I hated this job. She knew I was miserable. She could tell there was something more in me that I was just like, and even with these direct sales opportunities, I was like, there is more in me. Like, there is a message I'm meant to share, and I can't figure out how to tie these damn products with the message I'm trying to share. Like, I can't figure it out. What the hell? And so she asked me at lunch, like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. People always tell me I should be a life coach or something like that. But like, who would I even talk to? Who would I coach? Blah, 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 blah. I can solve a lot of problems, I feel like. And she was like, so-and-so has this person that comes over, and she's a CEO transition coach. And I kind of like tilted my head to the side like a dog and was like, what the fuck is that?
CEO transition coach. Okay.
And she tells me generics, like, she helps people go from being a CEO to just being a regular person at home. Like, they've retired now from being a CEO, and they don't know how to not be a dick, for lack of a better term,
right?
At home.
Yeah,
So
I love it.
like, I literally was like, oh my God. And I was like, I hate to be rude, but I need my phone really quick. And I like wrote, I can help ex-cops like transitioning.
Yes.
I remember Googling like, what do I do now? And like ex-law enforcement, like jobs for prior law, like nothing in 2016 was out there. There is nothing that was popping up on a Google search for this topic. And so again, I suffered through it all. I struggled through it all and kind of piece by piece figured it out. For God's sakes, I still applied with my cop resume for every job up until 2 years ago. I never changed it. And somehow it worked. So like, whatever. Now, did it get me a new career that I could full-time? No, but I've also learned that every job I've had since getting out has taught me either something about myself or what I did not want. And those two things combined, phenomenal. Like, it led me to like creating Next Shift, which is definitely not making me money, guys. Please don't get it twisted. Like, when you become an entrepreneur, it's a battle. It is a battle, especially when you're working with cops. It is a battle. But I will tell you that my two favorite parts of my business are the Next Shift podcast and the debrief call that I host every month, which is next Thursday. And both of those are free for any cop that's current or former. Any first responder, for God's sakes, can listen to the podcast and get something out of it. But it was that light bulb moment in March of 22, and I could not get out of that lunch fast enough. I was like, I'm so sorry, Gail. I gotta go. But we finished lunch. I finished my work day, a couple hours. On the way home, I called my friend who had been like the top person in the makeup and skincare. I was like, you are not going to believe what I'm going to do with my life. Like, this is it. Like, and she goes, oh my God, that's perfect for you. And I was like, is it not perfect? Oh my God. So I ran home. My notebook is still in this drawer down here of like, I was like, I need all the things. What do I do? And like, so I threw out every cop verbiage I could think of onto a page. And mind you, I'd been out for 6 years at this point. So like, but my husband's still in. So I kind of live vicariously.
You get it. Yeah. You're still in it.
I'm throwing words down on this page, and all of a sudden I see shift, and the word next is somewhere in my brain. I'm like, next shift. I'm like, fuck, I really love that. Like your next shift. And then I sent it to like the few people I talked to about this, and they're like, oh my God, that's perfect. I was like, oh my God, that's perfect. So I created a logo. Again, I need to see shit. So I created a logo in Canva, and I was like, all right, cool. That's done. I created then a form, and you can still go to any of my social media links in my bios and click on it. It says like next shift form or tell me about your next shift. And then it only had, I want to say 6 questions. How long were you in law enforcement? How long have you been out? What ranks did you hold? What were your initial thoughts and feelings when you got out? What do you think would have helped your transition? Do you feel like you fully adapted? And then maybe like some, would you be interested in a community, blah, blah, blah. Because every cop I'd ever talked to talked about missing a community once they were out. And I was like, well, duh, it's not normal to go from part of something bigger than yourself to no longer being that. So I sent it out to every cop I knew that had gotten out for whatever reason. And I was flabbergasted at the responses I was getting, because whether they retired, whether they were injured, whether they chose to leave, and it didn't matter how long they had served, across the board, same thoughts and feelings of, some of it was grief, some of it was relief, some of it was instantly less stress, some of it was anxious, some of it was guilt, some of it was I could breathe finally. And I was like, holy shit. And some of these people responding, I was like, okay, I wouldn't have thought that from them, but okay, cool. Like, that's neat that it's not just me, or it's not just whatever. So you got a little validation, and you also got enough market research to be like, we have a problem here that we need to talk about. And so I want to say I created the Next Shift Instagram right there in March of 22, and literally was like, no idea what this is going to look like, but this is my thought for this page. And then I think I left it there until like October of that year and didn't freaking touch it. I just let it like,
oh really? Just gotta let it
kind of grow and hang there. Because I didn't know what to share, how to share, or whatever. And then I took a business course that I wasted a fuck ton of money on, but you live and you learn. And I want to say that was October through January or February, something like that. Wasted a ton of money, but I learned what I would never do to a group of people that I was working with. So that, again, lesson learned. And that you don't have to charge $5,000 plus to work with people. Like, you can charge people a thing and help people. So January of 23, like I said earlier, is kind of really when I started showing up and being willing to share parts of this story, parts of transitioning, parts of lessons learned. And it's just really kind of taken off, at least on LinkedIn from there. But I started posting, and then the messages would happen. So people might not feel comfortable in the comments saying anything because it's public and who might see it. But the messages would come in, and literally they either word vomited their whole story, or they were like, thank you for saying that, or, any number of things to, one, validate, like, okay, cool, we're onto something here. Not even like my own thing. I don't need you to tell me what I went through is okay. I'm aware. It's okay.
Right.
Like, we're to that point. But to have these random strangers on the internet doing what I did to that random stranger on the internet with Beachbody was just mind blowing. I was like, well, clearly I found the people I'm supposed to talk to about this. But what I didn't expect, and what the initial thought for Next Shift was those who lost their career, firing, injured, they lost it for some reason. That was my initial. Well, then I was like, all these people are reaching out who are still on the job, and they're wanting out. Like, they're in that definite burnout phase, like that they can't see anything other than misery. And it was all this, I would say 8 to 13 years is kind of the range that most people I talk to are in. And I understand that, because I would say every 4 years or so, I went through that burnout, get me the fuck out of here. What am I doing? Like, phase. And a lot of that is you've been in the same role for that long and you haven't moved
Yes.
and you haven't changed up your environment. You haven't changed enough things. You haven't, and I hate to say this, but god dang, do we settle for mediocrity far too often. You're not pushing yourself because you're getting the same paycheck as these idiots and you're miserable. So you're definitely not like, well, let me see what I could do in life after law enforcement. Let me go get these trainings that are free on the department, or departments aren't paying for training, or we don't have the manpower, whatever reason. So you literally just feel stuck. And I was like, okay, well, I think we have an even bigger problem here. Like this many people trying to leave. We all see it happening, like people leaving. Yeah. And then retired guys started hopping on board. I'm like, you idiots get everything. You get all the talk. You get all of the like resources. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are you suffering? But then, I mean, when you can take a step back and be like, they dedicated 30, sometimes up to 38 years of their life to this one job. It's all they've ever known. Yep. They don't know anything else. And then when I started hearing, and this is so, I don't know if it's bad or good, but I did not know about officer suicides necessarily while I was on the job. But since doing this and talking about these things and learning that first 2-year period out of this job is like the most critical, I was like, why the fuck are we not doing more for our retired people? Like that's a peer support function that you need to continue on at least that first year and make sure they stay the fuck alive. And I get very heated on that because I'm like, they served your community for 20 plus fucking years. Yeah. They were there for your department. And it's not like you're having 20 retirements a year. You're having
I don't care if it's 5 years. I don't, you know what I mean? It's because
somebody needs to do that. And since these departments aren't willing to do it, I am willing to be that community. Yep. And it sucks that you're having to pay for it. If I could get your department to pay for the first year for you, and I've tried, and I was told we've got to allocate resources to those who are here, who are going to be here. Because I offered it for not only those within a year of retirement, they need a plan, but those on injury pending, like you are leaving, you're medically retiring at some point in the next whatever.
Are you aware that in the United States military now, when you ETS, effective time of service, when you get out of the military, you are mandated prior to leaving the service to go to job fairs and then bring your command staff or your commander, platoon sergeant, whatever, a check card of the booze that you, because I've for recruiting stuff, I've done that up at a military base that's north of us. It's like, so the federal fucking government recognizes that they're, you know what I mean? But law enforcement agencies, and I'm going to call it what it is, you've got 20 to 30 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, of acute accumulated traumas, 10 and 12 hours a day, 12 days a week, because everybody's working the overtime. And
in the community you live in, basically.
Yes. And then it's just like, okay, we're done with you. Thanks. The fucking military, you could be there for a 2-year contract, 4-year contract, and you've got to go, it's mandated to do transition work to the civilian world.
So what's crazy to me to hear you say that is like, a lot of cops were veterans, and so they come and talk to me, or veterans will reach out, and I'm like, I had no idea how many resources they actually have for the transition. ETAPs or something. They have all these things, all these programs. Either people, 1, don't know about them, 2, they don't utilize them and they just want to whine, which is a very huge portion of both
of course,
demographics. Yeah. But yeah, I had no idea how many resources they have, but how many people don't utilize them. And I'm like, it's literally being handed to you.
Handed to you.
And I'm not even going to get on the veteran and cops and how we should be treated like them, because we actually serve every day of our career. But I digress on that.
It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just different is all. It's not one's worse than the other. It's just different.
But even veterans will tell you, like, no, cops are in the battle every day, all day, where I get to deploy and only focus on my mission. I don't have my family there. I don't have to worry about X, Y, or Z. I literally go there to do a job, and then I fly home, hopefully.
Correct.
At the end of that.
Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, it is what it is. And again, like, all this whole range of people, I want out. I don't want out, but they're forcing me out. And well, shit, it's my time. I gotta go. And they're all feeling and thinking the exact same things. And it was made very apparent when I started the debrief calls November of 23, and I didn't expect anybody to show up. It was supposed to be live, and then we made it a virtual thing, and we had 4 people, and everybody was on camera, and everybody talked, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I didn't expect that.
So can you explain that? Because I want people to go to this. Like, first of all, tell us what that is, what it's about, and how do people even access that?
Yeah. So debrief came about because I wanted it to be a live panel of myself, a police chaplain, police, first responder, like clinician, and then I have a local wife who lost her husband 3 months after retirement to suicide. And I wanted it to be a panel to where cops could come and they could hear all of these different perspectives from, and myself obviously, of all of these different people. And then the week before it actually happened, I'd even recorded a podcast on it. The panel dissolved. Nobody could do it anymore. And I was like, well, what the fuck am I going to do? I got to keep my word. So I'm going to keep my word to the people who have signed up, and I'm going to do it a Zoom now, which was the best thing that could have happened, because now people from across this country are getting to come to this Zoom every month. And there's a link in my bio on Instagram and LinkedIn. You just sign up. And once you're signed up, you're always signed up. But I only send the Zoom link out to that list of people who are signed up to keep it safe and protected. And it goes out the night before the call so that people aren't able to like send it to whoever they want or post it wherever they want. And so far so good. Like no randoms have hopped on. But we've grown from those 4 people to, we had 21 last month, which was the biggest one yet. And I have over 100 people signed up. So it just goes to show you, like, a lot of people have good intention. They'll sign up and then they don't show up. But the ones who show up are getting help. And it is not therapy. I want to be very, very, very clear. It's not therapy. I'm not licensed, and we don't treat it like that. I literally look at my screen and I'm like, hey, so-and-so, welcome back. Like, tell us who you are, where you're from, what brought you to debrief. And usually it's part of the story. And then the conversations just kind of take off from there with whoever's on the call. And again, November of 23, the only one we skipped was last year when my husband's friend was killed. And then we've been going strong since and growing every single month since. Not one person has left their screen blank. Not one person has not shared. And it has blown my mind because I didn't expect it. I was like, I come from the cop culture where we weren't talking about these things. So I didn't know what to expect. And I am so truly humbled and honored every single month that I get to present or give this space for these people. And I don't even share my own shit. Like, it's literally.
So I'm picturing this. It's a venue kind of like what we've been doing the last couple hours, just people just chatting like this about
people just chatting like this. And man, if there's something you're going through, this person picks up, or if like this is something they've been through. And I mean, people have talked about suicide attempts, or they've talked about thoughts, or this or that. We've had from brand new officers to police chiefs. We've had people cry. We've had, and it's crazy because I'm typically the only female on the call. It's wild to me.
Really?
Yeah. I'm typically the only female. So it's mostly males. I would say 98% males. And they're all of my generation or older for the most part, which is mind boggling to me as well, because again, we weren't the ones taught to talk about this stuff.
Right.
So it's very interesting to have like the younger guys be able to give some fresh perspective to the older people, and the older people give that perspective right back to these guys that are facing what they already have. And it is truly, truly my favorite call of the month. As many calls as I do a month, like it is my favorite call of every single month because it is just so impactful.
Okay, I'm gonna. You're gonna have to repeat
Make sure
something.
you sign up.
I'm gonna write this down. So how does somebody sign up to do this?
Yeah, so they go to the link on Instagram or LinkedIn in my bio. They just click on it and it says join us on debrief or something like that. It says something about debrief, and you just click on it and you sign up. Like, what does it even say? I just renamed them not too long ago.
Okay, so it's basically find.
Follow me first, and then
Jessica Flores on LinkedIn, and then there'll be prompts on LinkedIn where you can join debrief.
And then once you sign up, you get the link from me the night before the call. And then I talk about it on both platforms, Instagram and LinkedIn, like the week of leading up to, like, hey, make sure you join us Thursday or whatever. But it's always there. The link is always there to join and sign up.
And on what days is it?
It started to be the last Thursday of every month, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it just happens to be.
I just want people to get that, because I think that's a very important resource, right?
It's incredible.
And like you said, it's not therapy, but guess what? It is. And
and that is what so many guests have said. And I love to ask guests for feedback, but it's not therapy. Jess makes it very clear, but it's very therapeutic is a very common thing. And I really think it's so helpful to see that you're not alone. And here's the deal. Some of these people are probably sitting there like, I don't want to say anything. Please don't call to me. Please run out of time. Here's the thing. We don't run out of time because I, for sure, will be there until the last person is seen and heard. If other people have to hop off, the last one was 3 hours long. Like,
nice.
If it gets to a point where people have to hop off, they do, but very rarely are people hopping off. Like, everybody's wanting you to feel the same seen and heard. I think if it grows this month, we're going to have to like share one thing about like what you're coming here for, like
Right.
type of
Right.
situation. But as of right now, like I promise I will be there for you. If others hop off, they hop off. If you can't be there at 6:30 Central, come at 7:30 Central. We're going to be there. I promise you. Hop on when you can. But yeah, I just go around the room. And so by the time I get to the bottom, some of those new people are down there and they're like, I had no idea others felt this way, or wow, I've been feeling this for X number of time. And it's so crazy to see so many bits and pieces of myself in each of your stories. And like, you can just see the relief on their face that they're like, oh, thank God, I am not facing this alone. I am not the only one. And it is, I never went to a debrief in my career. So I actually had no idea what a debrief would actually look like. I just knew I needed a cop term that made sense. And we were going to debrief our careers up until the point of wherever you are in your career.
Wherever you're at.
It is not incident specific. It is not what is a CISM, I think is what they call them. Not a critical incident debrief. It is literally, we are debriefing your career or your life, wherever you're at right now. What do you need to get off your chest? Let's talk.
And what an awesome, I mean, it's the same as the Shielded Voices platform, right? The whole purpose is what we share in common. Like our whole purpose is just like, it is my genuine prayer that every time we interview somebody, that one thing that Jessica Flores says, one thing that another guest said, one thing reaches somebody somewhere. That's a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
That's it. Regardless of the bullshit that I deal with in my career, the people, I don't care. I don't care. That's mine to own. I don't want anybody else to own that. But I've always prayed to God that my story, Mitch's story, Jessica's story could touch one person.
And that's where so many people get like hung up or like, well, I can't share until it's perfect, or I can't put it together perfect. One, nobody is perfect. So you turn people off when you try. When you can be real, authentic, and genuine, and you're sharing from your heart, one, people see that. And two, if that one person is the person whose life gets changed, that's all I care about. You are planting seeds out here for everybody that maybe even next year, like maybe today it's not ringing true, but next year, now they're going through this transition. They're like, fuck, I'm pretty sure Jessica talked about that. Like I should have paid attention better. Or Mitch or Brian or whoever, or whatever part of your story, or the people who come on the podcast and they talk about, they had their gun in their mouth and like something happened. And I'm like, I get taken back every time. Cause I'm like, I had no idea this was a thing. I did not know this was a thing that was happening. And then they don't tell me ahead of time. It just literally comes out in the interview. And I'm like, okay, wow. Like, like, let's talk about that though, because I know because of the numbers, there are far more thinking that, and completing it than I've ever seen in my life. And it's heartbreaking to think you gave your all to something else and you can't even be here for yourself. And it's so heartbreaking.
And not only they gave them all for themselves, like you spend, like I said, I don't care if it's 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. Yeah. That job changes you as a human. It just does.
It does.
And then you get in this mode of when it's being, whether it's taken from you, even if you're retiring, like it's very, very difficult for retirees. Yep. People don't realize that. They think they're just living their golden years. The bigger percentage of them aren't. The bigger percentage of them are lost.
I will tell you, I have met less than 5 retirees who actually retired. They're living their best life on the beach or the lake or whatever, like less than 5. And since January of 23, so 2 years now, I've been talking to people from all parts of this, like, and the retirees, they're not retirees. You're getting a second career when this job is done, just FYI. So Mitch and I were talking off camera on the break, like the sooner you prepare for that, the better. Like today, you need to prepare because tomorrow your career could be taken. We all know that. Deep down, we know our career could end tomorrow, one way or another. You got to prepare for that.
I honestly feel like even though I'm 52, I feel like I'm dodging a bullet getting out. I really do. I think God, we could sit here for days. All the scientific studies on, shift work, just doing shift work takes years off your life, your circadian rhythm, everything, all the traumas, everything that comes with it. Again, I love that job immensely. Yeah. There is nothing I would ever want to do again, except until you do want to do something over again because you realize the toll it's taking. And that doesn't mean that there's a guy that can't do 25 years and be just fine. Right. There are people like that.
Everybody's story and experiences are different. We don't get to dictate what trauma is to this person or that person or how they grieve or how they do this or that. It's very individualistic. And again, somebody with a 2-man department versus a 50,000 officer department, completely different experiences, right? Throughout that
Yeah.
career, you don't get to say what it's going to be like or what it should be like. And I am
Should be
very
like.
cautious to not say should. And that's why I called attention earlier to not every transition's horrible, guys. Just FYI, like some of them are really
Yeah.
great and some of them are really incredible careers. They don't really
Yeah.
have the negative to focus on. While
Yeah.
many of us do, though, and the people that I am talking to specifically are the people who are going through the shit of things.
Yeah.
If somebody else wants to
Yeah.
get on a podcast or start one and they want to talk about how great everything was in their career,
Mhm.
go do that. Go talk
Mhm.
to the people who also had a great career the entire time. Go talk to the people who had a great retirement all the time. I like to sprinkle them in on my show every once in a while to
Yeah.
show people that there are both sides of this, but
Yes.
the majority is not that.
Right. Well, that's what drew me when I was telling Mitch, I'm like, dude, you've got to check this out. We've got to get her on the podcast because it does show there seems like there's always a podcast like this there's all the negatives, right? The trauma. Okay. But guess what? There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's as long as you're willing to actually take steps towards the light and instead of staying, for lack of a better term, sitting in your own shit all the time. Because let's face it, that's what we do. It's on us.
Yep.
It's on us.
100%.
So can you talk about what does it look like if somebody reaches out to Jessica Flores with Next Shift and like, hey, I need help transitioning to out of a career, pick your first responder career or law enforcement. What does that look like? What does that look like for them when they reach out?
I'm going to tell you brutally, honestly, I think it's probably very annoying to a lot of people because I ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions initially. Like, first of all, like, hey, thank you for having the guts to reach out. I appreciate that. That takes a lot of guts. And I hope you're patting yourself on the back. I'm a random stranger on the internet and that's not lost on me. So take like kudos to you, but also...
I will also say, I'm going to interrupt you. I will also say she's not lying because I literally sent her a message. Hey, I kind of interested in what, and the very first thing she asked me was, why are you losing your career? What's going on? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, lady, I don't even know you.
Right.
But I did. I typed it out. I typed out a Reader's Digest of, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to put that in there. She's going to ask you very pointed questions.
I'm going to ask you questions. So a lot of people, again, they will either word vomit their entire situation and at the end of it, they'll like ask a question or whatever, or they've been working with people, say on like resumes or this or that, and they're so frustrated they're not getting anywhere. Or they just reach out and they're like, hey, I'm coming up on retirement or I'm getting out or I'm injured and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, what can you do? And so if they straight out ask me like, what do you offer? I'm still going to ask the same annoying questions and be like, well, tell me a little bit about yourself first. Like, why are you getting out? Do you know the actual why behind it? Like not just like the surface level, but the deep rooted. And again, if you're being forced out, you're being forced out. Right. But most that I'm talking to are not being forced. And then like, what have you tried? What has worked, what hasn't worked type of question. It's like to figure out who you've talked to, what have you done any work, or are you just going to sit here and whine and cry about like where you are? That gives me a vibe for who you are and what you're willing to do or not do. And then we can get into questions about, tell me some things. And once it feels right, if it feels right, I will tell you Next Shift Academy is always going to be my answer for you. I don't do one-on-one coaching anymore. I have found that I don't enjoy that necessarily. I love the group environment after having debrief and seeing what people are capable of when they're in a group. I'm just going to tell you eventually, here's the deal. If you want to transition, you need Next Shift Academy. You need to hear from the people who are going through it alongside you. You need to hear from the people who have been there, done that have already transitioned. Again, we're going back to Beachbody here, guys. That was the group that I entered. That is what helped me, changed me, shaped the direction of my life. So that is now what I've created for cops. And we have weekly calls where we call it a shift session because coaching apparently is a bad term to cops. So shift sessions.
I don't need help from anybody.
Good Lord. Like changing your entire vocabulary just to talk to cops. Like, but we have shift sessions. So it's based on a topic. The typical flow is a topic for the month, like a guiding theme. The next one will be like what wellness topic are we talking about? And I'll bring a guest in that's an expert in that wellness topic. Then either a member-led topic or hey, let's pick a topic that we need to focus on. And then the last one is debrief for the 4 call months. But that's kind of the layout of that. Every other Saturday, I give them an hour of my time if they show up. If they don't show up, I get off in about 10 minutes. But it's called a power hour. You come and you bring whatever you need to work on. Are you working on tailoring your resume? Are you working on cover letters? Are you working at job search? Are you looking at networking? Like, what do you need to work on? A LinkedIn post. Are you,
Yes.
do you need help with that? Like, come to this power hour and let's talk about it. Let's figure out like how to help you. We usually turn our cameras off if there's more than one of us, like, and everybody's got something, turn our cameras off, turn our mics off. If you have a question, pop back on camera and say, hey guys, can I get your feedback on this? Whatever it is. If it's only one person, you get a one-on-one call with me. Like,
Right.
it is what it is. And then every day, almost every day, there's like a post meant for engagement to get people talking, to get people thinking about these things. And every Saturday is a skill set. We don't have any skills, blah, blah, blah. We're just a cop. Well, no, every Saturday I'm proving to you that you have skills that are transferable to the private sector, or entrepreneurship or whatever. And then, you know, there's a give and a ask on Sundays. I'm asking you to give this group something of yourself. Like, what can you help somebody with? And what do you need from this group? Learn how to ask for what you want. Don't beat around the bush. What do you need? Like, ask us. We're here. It's a small, safe, private community. Your department's not going to see this. It's okay. We have a mindset thing. We have, you know, Thankful Thursday. What lessons from your life are you thankful for? Who is somebody from your career that you're thankful for? You know, all these different things. And then Feature Fridays to highlight members who are there and they're showing up and they're doing the work and they're making progress in this transition.
That's awesome.
So we eventually get to there in these DMs. That's where we usually get.
Right. Yeah. Well, because I think like we said that the scariest thing that's the scariest thing is people sitting in that career, any career. Well, let's be honest, any career. But because it's cop stuff, it's like, God, I really don't want to do this anymore. But what do I do? It's the golden handcuffs. You know, I make $120,000 a year, all the good benefits, and like, I know that there are a lot of people, because I've talked to them at my age, where they're like, I can have full retirement in 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. Yeah. But when you're done, you're done.
Yeah. When you're done, you're done. You know.
Yeah. And again, full disclosure, they probably wouldn't take me back anyway because of their own bullshit perceptions that they have, which whatever, who gives a shit? But it's okay. It's just okay. It's okay to be hurt by it, and it's okay to be okay with it at the same time, if that makes sense.
And some people are like, scary. Well, what about like LinkedIn? Like, you're on LinkedIn. I'm like, yes, but that is me hoping the algorithm lets you see what the fuck I'm saying and that you get to see it. Next Shift Academy, once you're in it, you're getting direct access to these people who have also paid to be in this group to get their network access, right? Because they're going to connect you with who they know, but they're intimately getting to know you. It's not just like, well, I saw you post on LinkedIn once, I'm going to throw my name under the bus in case it goes south. No, they're getting to know you in this group. So you're getting that direct access. And almost all of it leads us right back to LinkedIn anyways. But LinkedIn has like billions of people, right? Well, those billions of people don't need to know what the fuck we're talking about over here.
Right.
When something over here sparks, like, oh shit, there's cops that need to hear this and they're not in this group, or they've been in my DMs for a year now and they're still not in here. I'm going to throw this in your face now. And I'm going to put this out here. Like, look, you're not alone. This is what's going on in Next Shift Academy. Yeah. This is what we're talking about. These are the conversations we are willing to have. Are you willing to have part of that conversation? And if you're not, then you can keep suffering. And it sounds really shitty, but that's the point where I've gotten to, because several in my DMs for 6 months, 8 months, a year are still whining when they come to the DM. And I'm like, you got to take action. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And I think what you tell them, it forces them into getting help, because no one's going to get help if they don't want help. It's just like with AA, right? So you're just no bullshit. You cut through the bullshit and say, I'm here if you need me. Yeah.
And I've gotten to that point. I will say, like, I just kind of like kept, and I was like, oh my God, this is exhausting for me.
Yeah.
If these people are paying to work with me, they're going to get my attention. I had somebody ask me something in a DM and it took me like 2 days to get back to them, which is not normal. Are you there? I'm like, yeah, I'm here. But I feel like these people take priority, just FYI. So to anybody listening, it's not that I don't care. I will definitely talk to you. I will have a conversation with you 4 months on end here and there, you know. Yeah. I'm going to give you what I offer to help you. And if you just keep wanting to take and take and take for free and wonder why you're not getting anything, it's because you're trying to take everything for free. Yeah. If you can't, I just made a post about it, pay $40 a month, even if it's just 1 month. If you can't invest $40 in yourself, why do you think $120,000 salary is going to come to you?
That's right.
Why do you think that? You don't even value yourself for $40.
Yeah.
And it's a hard reality, but that's kind of the point where I've gotten to. I'm just going to use people's words against them at this point.
And it's interesting talking to people. The person that I mentioned before that came to me with employment stuff, somebody that I've known, one of the things that I told him I said, I'll be honest, like it scares the shit out of me.
Mhm.
And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, like I'm scared of failing you. And he goes, that's why I want you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that fear,
Use it for good.
use it for good.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a characteristic that employers want. Like you don't want to, it doesn't mean you're a workaholic, and there's I can almost promise there's going to be a transition time of working too much, because that's what you're used to doing. And you got to Charlie Mike, right? Continue the mission. The other thing that's interesting, I said to him was, look, you have to understand that if this all works out and I come to work for you, probably for the first year or so, anytime you go, hey, Brian, I need to see you in my office, I'm shitting my pants.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely thinking, oh, fuck, I'm getting fired. Here's the keys to the company car. And he's like, what? He couldn't even comprehend that.
Yeah. And there's
Couldn't
so
even
many
comprehend
things
it.
that people don't comprehend. I mean, when you do a hard stop and you go from law enforcement, especially if you're in a patrol capacity, to a corporate setting, and it's like all nicey nice and like, here we are.
Yes.
You don't even know how to communicate with that anymore because it's so far removed from you. You have to learn that. Like you literally have to lean it. You have to force it. You have to, okay, sure, and smile through it. Like you have to freaking bear down and make it through it. People are going to be mad that so-and-so put something in the fridge that shouldn't be there or some bullshit like that. And you're going to have to be like, oh, for fucking God's sake. Or you're going to be like, what are you stressed about? Like nobody's dying and there are not bullets flying at our heads. Like, what are you stressed about? And like, that comes across very wrong to a lot of people. Like we do seem very cocky coming out.
Yeah, it does. But I also think it's beneficial for people too. Like I know a lot of things that come up in those conversations are, I can't imagine what it's going to be like. I mean, I can't, because I came from the civilian sector for 15 years doing the same shit. Yes, very helpful. But it's like to even imagine, going to work every day and there's no toxicity. There's no people stabbing you in the back. There's no people, like everybody's together for the same mission. And it's going to be like
twisted. That's not everywhere, but they'll do it behind your back at least.
Correct. It's not everywhere. No. I understand. I know the people that I'm referring to. Like I know this person well. Aside from whatever the job is and the pay is, I will never again work for a toxic environment. If the first time I sense toxicity, I'm out. And
that's one thing that we learned through this transition is you're a lot less tolerable of a bad environment, and you better do your research. That's why this is not a quick overnight, let me just change your resume and you're going to get this new job and you're going to love it and you're going to be happily ever after. No, it takes time to figure out who the hell you are and what you want. Once you do that and you start, I hear these people all the time, well, I've applied to 150, 300, 1,000 jobs. There is zero chance that you investigated 1,000 companies to see that it's the culture you want to work in, the mission you believe in, the vision that you have for your life. Zero fucking chance. You are just like desperate, and it's coming across. So that is why I work with you to get clear. Going from this chaotic law enforcement life to gaining some clarity in what you want for yourself and where you're at and how the hell we get from there to there. And then that gives you confidence to then take the steps you need to take to get where you need to go. You have to research these companies. You have to research the people. You have to talk to the people that are in these companies. Get a real feel. You cannot believe reviews. We've all had restaurants that everybody said was great and they sucked. Like you have to do the work yourself. If you can go do a sit along. Hey, can I come walk through? Like, hey, can I come meet with you? Like, can I do the extra things that nobody else is fucking doing and just wondering why their resume is not getting picked up. Take the extra steps.
I to this particular person, I suggested, hey, can I do like a ride along for a couple of days? Come see what, and he's like, of course. Like, and I know some of the people that work there, but still ask. And somebody else told me, I was watching this guy on LinkedIn too. He talks about, he's a recruiter. When you're interviewing, you ask them cognitive questions.
Yes.
Right? They ask you like, it's the same question. Tell me a time where you've had to deal with diversity and what did you do with it?
Yeah.
So as the person being interviewed, hey manager, tell me a time where there was a situation with employees. How did you handle it as a manager? How did you de-escalate it? That's what I want to know about the people I'm working for. And it's okay to ask those questions.
And I also want to know, like, why is this spot vacant? Why has it been vacant for this long?
Right.
Ask the questions that are going to tell you what you need to know about this company, but you better first see yourself in their vision, their mission, and how you add value to that. because that's all
Yes.
they care about on this side. How do you add value? It's still a business, guys. It is still a business, but hopefully you learn the lesson that you don't give it all. You give it your all while you're there and you're being paid to be there.
That's right. Bingo.
Yeah.
Well, and like one of the things that you said in one of the podcasts of yours that I was listening to that really made me shift my focus on the type, because I mean, I'm just, Indeed, scrolling Indeed, and like I need to make this much money, but I can make less and still be okay. And one of the things you said was, that's all fine and dandy. You could make $300,000 a year, but if you don't have purpose, you'll be there for a year and you're done. And
you can talk to any single person that's gotten out of this career field. If they don't have meaning or purpose behind the work they're doing, they're freaking miserable yet again. And they're not in the environment that they like, if you will.
Right. Because you have to believe in the people in the product. I've always thought that. Yep. So, well, awesome. I think, man, what you're doing is amazing. I don't know. I mean, just by the graces of God, I came across you on LinkedIn and was like, I want to listen to this podcast. And here we are. You're on our podcast.
I believe in God winks for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Divine intervention is, yes. I go on and on about that. But I think we wrap it up here. We've been at this for 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah. But thank you so much for what you're doing. Not only for just coming on here, Jessica, but like having that. It's crazy that the people that we talk to, even outside of the career, they still continue to serve other people, because that's really why we did that job to begin with. It's fun to drive fast and point guns at people. But serving people is at our heart, and what you're doing is a godsend. It really is.
Means a lot.
And I just hope that it flourishes more. And I hope you're busy 7 days a week. I really do.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah. So for those of you listening, please look up The Next Shift. Go to LinkedIn, look up Jessica Flores. All the information's on there. I've got the page sitting up here right now. I'll be honest, I see your posts all the time because they're on my feed now that I follow you, and it's a lot of inspiration.
You can ring that little bell at the top of my page, and it'll notify you like when I do post. That way, people don't miss them. Because again, it's an algorithm, guys.
It is. It absolutely is. Yes. No, it absolutely is. And I just clicked it as you just said that. So
a man that takes action, I'm here for it.
Right, and I'm going to click all. So. Again, another reminder to the listeners. Thank you so much for listening to Shield Voices. We're not getting paid. Jessica's not getting paid. We're not making money at this. It's actually money comes out of our pocket because we actually have a heart and passion for people. And we need you to know that you're never, ever, ever alone, whether you're having mental health issues, whether you're thinking about getting out of the career. And if you are, please look up Jessica Flores. Like, take the steps for yourself, for your family, whoever. And do the like, subscribe, and all the stupid button shit that everybody else says. And it's just so that we don't have to send text messages to all of our friends saying, "Hey, there's a new episode."
Right.
Like,
I'm on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. For those of you that do know me, you can figure out my last name. I'm not going to say it on here. I will in about 3 months. I'll say my last name, and I'll say a lot more. But so with that, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on here, and I look forward to continued contact. Through LinkedIn. If I ever have a place to come on your show at some point, man,
sounds like maybe about 3 months you will.
3.
Yep. It probably will, and I would be more than happy to, for sure. And thank you again.
Absolute honor to be here. Thank you so much for asking me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please, we would just ask if you wouldn't mind passing, shielded voices around to maybe people in your community that our platform. The more people we can have on to hopefully, like we said earlier, just touch that one person and make it a change in somebody's life would be awesome. So with that, I just have a great rest of your day. And it sounds like Mitch's kids are bouncing around in the background. So he's probably going to deal with that.
My hearing aids.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you guys aren't alone.